In the late 1500s, deep inside the tropical forests of South America, a strange flower stopped European missionaries in their tracks. They weren't amazed by its beauty alone. They believed it carried a hidden message from God. That single belief would give this fruit the name the world still uses today, passion fruit. But here's the twist. The word passion has nothing to do with romance. It tells a far older, far darker story. And by the end of this documentary, you'll never look at a passion fruit the same way again. Long before supermarkets displayed glossy purple passion fruits on their shelves, before tropical juice companies turned it into a global flavor, and before chefs transformed it into elegant desserts, the passion fruit grew wild across the rainforests of what is now Brazil, Paraguay, northern Argentina, and parts of Peru. Thousands of years ago, indigenous communities lived alongside these vines. They understood the forest in ways outsiders never could. Every season taught them something new, and among the countless edible plants surrounding them, one climbing vine became especially valuable. It wrapped itself around towering trees, climbed toward the sunlight, and produced fragrant flowers unlike anything else in the rainforest. When those flowers faded, they revealed a smooth green fruit. As it ripened, the shell slowly changed into shades of deep purple or bright yellow, depending on the variety. Inside waited hundreds of tiny black seeds surrounded by golden orange pulp, sweet, fragrant, and refreshingly tart. For indigenous people, this wasn't an exotic delicacy. It was simply another gift from the forest. Families gathered the fruit during seasonal harvests, eating the pulp fresh, or mixing it with water to create refreshing drinks that helped them survive the tropical heat. Traditional healers also observed that certain parts of the vine seemed to promote relaxation and restful sleep. While modern science continues to study these traditional uses, the plant had already earned a respected place in indigenous life, centuries before Europeans ever heard its name. Yet the people who first cultivated and respected this remarkable vine never called it passion fruit. That name would come much later, and from people who misunderstood almost everything they saw. During the 1500s, European exploration of South America accelerated rapidly. Spanish and Portuguese expeditions crossed rivers, climbed mountains, and entered forests that seemed endless. Alongside soldiers and explorers, traveled another group with a different mission. Missionaries. Their goal wasn't to discover plants. It was to spread Christianity. Every unfamiliar animal, every unusual flower, and every unknown fruit became part of their attempt to understand and explain the new world through the lens of their own faith. Then one day, they encountered a flower unlike anything Europe had ever known. Its design seemed impossibly complex: 5 petals, 5 sepals, a ring of delicate purple filaments, 5 prominent stamens, 3 spreading stigmas rising above them all. To modern botanists, these were simply parts of an extraordinary flower. But to 16th century missionaries, they looked like symbols. One missionary reportedly believed the pointed leaves resembled the spear used during the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. The curling tendrils reminded him of the whips. The 5 stamens represented Christ's wounds. The 3 stigmas symbolized the 3 nails used during the crucifixion. The crown-like ring of colorful filaments became the crown of thorns. To them, this flower wasn't random, it was divine. It appeared to tell the story of Christ's suffering through nature itself, and because Christians refer to Christ's suffering and crucifixion as the Passion of Christ, they called the plant the passion flower. Eventually, the fruit growing beneath that flower became known as passion fruit. Ironically, one of the world's most romantic-sounding fruit names has absolutely nothing to do with romance. It comes from one of Christianity's most sacred stories. If you're enjoying uncovering the forgotten history hidden behind everyday foods, take a moment to support the channel. Hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because every week we reveal true stories that history almost left behind. Now, Let's continue the journey. The missionaries had given the fruit a name. But naming it didn't mean understanding it. In fact, they knew very little about where it came from, how long indigenous communities had cultivated it, or how many different species already existed throughout South America. To Europeans, it felt completely new. To the people living there, it had always been part of everyday life. As explorers pushed deeper into the continent, they discovered that the vine appeared almost everywhere. Tropical forests thrived. Some fruits were small and intensely sour. Others were larger, sweet, and brightly colored. Some vines produced spectacular purple flowers, while others bloomed in shades of white, pink, or crimson. Today, scientists recognize more than 500 species within the Passiflora genus. But in the 16th century, Europeans saw only mystery, and mystery often became legend. Many travelers carried seeds back across the Atlantic. What began as botanical curiosity soon became one of Europe's most fascinating tropical plants. But carrying a handful of seeds across an ocean was one thing. Keeping them alive was something entirely different. For sailors crossing the Atlantic during the 16th and 17th centuries, the journey often lasted months. Ships battled violent storms, unbearable heat, limited fresh water, and disease. Most living plants never survived the voyage. Even if a seed reached Europe, there was no guarantee it would germinate in an unfamiliar climate. Yet somehow, a few passion fruit seeds survived. And those tiny survivors would begin changing botanical history forever. The first European gardens that received the plant weren't ordinary gardens. They belonged to monasteries, royal palaces, and wealthy collectors fascinated by exotic plants arriving from newly explored lands. To them, the passion flower wasn't valuable because of its fruit. It was valuable because of its astonishing appearance. Visitors gathered around the strange blossom, studying every detail. Some admired its beauty. Others believed it carried hidden religious symbolism. Artists carefully painted it. Botanists attempted to classify it. Priests used it as a teaching tool when explaining the story of Christ's Passion. The flower had become far more than a tropical curiosity. It had become a symbol. As the decades passed, European scientists became increasingly interested in understanding the mysterious vine. Instead of relying on legends, they began documenting its growth scientifically. They recorded how the vine climbed using delicate tendrils, how the flowers opened for only a short period, how insects visited the blossoms before fruit slowly began to develop. Each observation revealed something extraordinary. Nature had engineered this plant with incredible precision. Unlike many flowers that could reproduce easily, several passion flower species depended on specific pollinators. In the forests of South America, large bees played an essential role. Without them, many flowers would never become fruit. European gardeners soon discovered this challenge. The vines looked healthy. The flowers bloomed beautifully. Yet fruits rarely appeared. At first, nobody understood why. Only years later did botanists realize that successful pollination required conditions that European gardens often lacked. The flower that looked effortless in the Amazon was surprisingly difficult to reproduce thousands of miles away. While scientists studied the plant, farmers saw something different potential. The fruit's aroma was unlike anything already growing in Europe. Its balance of sweetness and acidity fascinated anyone lucky enough to taste it. Although cultivation remained limited, travelers began describing the fruit in journals that circulated throughout Europe. Every description made people more curious. What exactly did it taste like? Was it sweet? Was it sour? Why did everyone describe its fragrance differently? Some compared it to citrus. Others noticed hints of tropical flowers. No single comparison seemed accurate. Passion fruit had created its own identity. As European empires expanded across the globe, the vine traveled with them. Portuguese settlers introduced it into new colonies. Spanish missionaries carried seeds wherever suitable climates existed. Gradually, the plant appeared in tropical regions far beyond its original homeland. Some locations welcomed it immediately. Others struggled to grow it. Climate determined everything: warm temperatures, rich soil, plenty of rainfall. Without those conditions, the vine refused to thrive, but where nature cooperated, the passion fruit flourished. By the 18th century, botanists had begun giving scientific names to thousands of newly discovered plants. Among them was the remarkable passion flower. The genus became known as Passiflora. The name combined two Latin words connected to the religious symbolism missionaries had first imagined centuries earlier. It wasn't just another plant. It had become part of the scientific record. From that moment onward, passion fruit belonged to both history and science. Around the same time, something unexpected began happening. Local communities outside South America started adapting the fruit into their own cultures. Instead of treating it as an exotic curiosity, they turned it into food, fresh juices, cooling drinks, sweet preserves, desserts. Over time, every region developed its own traditions around the fruit. One fruit, many identities. Yet, beneath its growing popularity, remained a mystery that scientists couldn't fully explain. Why was the flower designed with such extraordinary complexity? Why did different species develop dramatically different shapes and colors? And how had hundreds of unique varieties evolved across the Americas? Those questions would inspire generations of botanists. Some spent entire careers studying only the Passiflora family. Even today, researchers continue discovering new species hidden inside remote tropical forests. The story of passion fruit is still being written. By the beginning of the 19th century, passion fruit had transformed from an unfamiliar rainforest vine into an internationally recognized botanical treasure. But its greatest journey was still ahead, because the Industrial Revolution was about to change agriculture forever. Steamships would shorten travel times. Global trade would expand rapidly. Entire plantations would begin cultivating passion fruit on a commercial scale, and what had once been a rare rainforest delicacy would slowly become a fruit enjoyed by millions across the world. But that transformation came with unexpected challenges: diseases, global competition, and a race to grow the perfect passion fruit. By the middle of the 19th century, the world was changing faster than ever before. Steam-powered ships crossed oceans in weeks instead of months. Railways connected ports to distant cities. International trade expanded at an unprecedented pace, allowing fruits and seeds to travel farther than any generation had imagined. For the passion fruit, this wasn't just another chapter. It was the beginning of a worldwide journey. Farmers across tropical regions began experimenting with the vine. What had once grown wild in South American forests was now being planted in organized orchards. Not every attempt succeeded. Some plantations were destroyed by heavy rains. Others suffered from long droughts. Many vines produced beautiful flowers but very little fruit. Agriculture quickly revealed an important lesson. Growing passion fruit was far more difficult than simply planting a seed. The vine demanded careful pruning, healthy soil, reliable sunlight, and proper pollination. Without balance, harvests could fail completely. Scientists and farmers soon discovered another problem: disease. Healthy vines that had flourished for years suddenly began to weaken. Leaves turned yellow. Fruit became smaller. Entire plantations declined within a single growing season. The greatest enemy wasn't always visible: viruses, fungal infections, root diseases, nematodes hidden beneath the soil. One infected plant could eventually threaten an entire farm. Around the world, agricultural researchers started searching for stronger varieties that could survive these challenges without sacrificing flavor. The race to protect passion fruit had begun. At the same time, something remarkable was happening. Not every passion fruit looked the same. Some were deep purple, others ripened into brilliant yellow. Some fruits were small but intensely aromatic. Others grew much larger with sweeter pulp. Each variety adapted to different climates, rather than choosing a single perfect passion fruit. Growers embraced diversity. Different regions selected the varieties best suited to their own environments. Nature itself had created hundreds of possibilities. As production expanded, passion fruit slowly entered international markets. Fresh fruit appeared in local markets. The restaurants began serving tropical desserts. Juice manufacturers discovered that just a small amount of passion fruit could completely transform the flavor of a drink. Its intense aroma became its greatest strength, unlike many fruits that lost their character after processing. Passion fruit kept its identity, whether frozen, concentrated, or blended into juice. Its unmistakable fragrance remained. That unique quality made it valuable, far beyond the fresh fruit market. Food scientists soon realized another advantage. Passion fruit wasn't only delicious, it was nutritious. Its pulp contained vitamin C, vitamin A dietary fiber, natural antioxidants. Although no fruit is a miracle cure, nutrition researchers recognized that passion fruit could become part of a healthy diet when combined with balanced eating habits. Its growing reputation increased consumer demand around the world. Meanwhile, chefs began discovering just how versatile the fruit could be. The sweet-tart flavor paired beautifully with creamy desserts. It balanced rich chocolate. It brightened cheesecakes. It transformed ice cream. It elevated mousses. Even savory chefs experimented with passion fruit sauces for seafood and grilled meats. A fruit once eaten directly from the vine had entered fine dining. As international travel expanded during the 20th century, tourists visiting tropical countries encountered passion fruit for the first time. Many had never seen such an unusual fruit. They cracked open the shell, scooped out the golden pulp, and instantly remembered the experience. They returned home searching for the same flavor. Demand continued growing. Soon supermarkets across Europe, North America, Asia, and Australia began importing fresh passion fruit from tropical producers. What had once been a rainforest secret was now a global commodity. But growing worldwide demand also created new pressures. Farmers needed higher yields. Consumers expected perfect-looking fruit. Exports companies required consistent quality. Agricultural scientists responded with years of breeding programs, improved irrigation systems, better pest management, and more efficient cultivation techniques. Every improvement made the fruit more accessible, yet each innovation also reminded growers of one simple truth: nature could never be completely controlled. A single storm, an unexpected disease, or changing climate patterns could still affect an entire harvest. Despite every technological advance, one ancient relationship remained exactly the same. The flower still depended on pollinators. Bees continued performing the work they had done for thousands of years. Without successful pollination, there would be no fruit. Modern agriculture had become incredibly sophisticated. Yet it still relied upon one of nature's oldest partnerships. By the beginning of the 21st century, passion fruit had become one of the world's best-known tropical fruits. Its flavor appeared in juices, soft drinks, cocktails, candies, yogurts, jams, pastries, luxury desserts, and countless recipes across dozens of cultures. Yet behind every glass of juice, every slice of cheesecake, and every tropical dessert lived a story stretching back hundreds of years to a rainforest where indigenous communities first harvested a remarkable vine. But perhaps the most fascinating part of this story isn't how passion fruit conquered the world. It's how a single flower forever changed the way people looked at nature itself. The global success of passion fruit wasn't built in a single century. It wasn't created by one country. And it certainly wasn't the work of one civilization. Instead, it became the result of thousands of years of human curiosity, exploration, agriculture, and cultural exchange. Every generation added another chapter to its remarkable story. Let's begin with one of the biggest myths. Many people still believe the name passion fruit comes from romance or love. It doesn't. As we discovered at the beginning of this documentary, the name comes from the Passion of Christ, the Christian term describing the suffering and crucifixion of Jesus. When missionaries first examined the flower during the 16th century, they believed its unusual structure represented different elements of the crucifixion. Whether those interpretations were scientifically meaningful didn't matter. What mattered was the story they created. And that story permanently shaped the fruit's identity. More than 400 years later, the name remains unchanged. Another common misconception is that passion fruit has always been an international crop. History tells a different story. For countless generations, this vine belonged almost entirely to the tropical forests of South America. Indigenous peoples understood how to harvest it, use it, and appreciate its value long before Europeans arrived. Their knowledge formed the true foundation of the fruit's history. Everything that followed, exploration, botanical research, commercial farming, global trade, built upon that earlier relationship between people and nature. Today, passion fruit grows far beyond its original homeland. Commercial farms stretch across South America, Africa, Asia, and Oceania. Every region has adapted cultivation methods to suit its own climate. Some specialize in purple varieties, others focus on yellow passion fruit for juice production. Modern agriculture continues improving irrigation, disease management, and sustainable farming practices. Yet despite all this technology, the vine still depends on healthy ecosystems, healthy soil, reliable pollinators, balanced weather. Nature remains the true architect behind every harvest. Scientists continue studying passiflora for reasons that go beyond agriculture. Researchers investigate its genetics, its remarkable flower structure, its relationships with pollinating insects, its adaptation to changing environments. And even today, previously undocumented species are occasionally identified in remote tropical habitats. The story of passion fruit is not finished. It continues to evolve. Meanwhile, the fruit has become part of everyday life for millions of people. Children enjoy it in juices. Families serve it in desserts. Chefs transform it into elegant sauces. Bakers fold it into cakes. Ice cream makers rely on its unmistakable aroma. Cocktail experts value its intense fragrance. What was once a mysterious rainforest fruit has quietly become one of the world's defining tropical flavors. Yet perhaps the greatest lesson hidden inside this story isn't about food. It's about connection. Think about the incredible journey. A climbing vine growing wild beneath the rainforest canopy. Indigenous communities discovering its value through generations of observation. Missionaries giving it a name inspired by their faith. Botanists documenting its remarkable biology. Farmers learning how to cultivate it. Scientists protecting it from disease. Chefs introducing it to new audiences. Consumers around the world enjoying a fruit whose story they rarely know. Thousands of years. Countless cultures. One extraordinary plant. History often celebrates kings, empires, battles, and famous explorers, but sometimes the most fascinating stories belong to something much smaller. A seed, a flower, a fruit, because food doesn't simply feed civilizations, it travels with them, it preserves traditions, it carries beliefs, it connects continents. And it reminds us that culture is often built around the simple act of sharing a meal. The next time you slice open a passion fruit, pause for a moment. Look at the golden pulp. Notice the hundreds of tiny seeds. Remember the rainforest where its story began. Remember the indigenous communities who first understood it. Remember the missionaries who unknowingly gave it a name that would survive for centuries. Remember the farmers whose work still depends on the rhythm of nature. And remember that every bite carries a history far richer than its flavor alone. Because behind every ordinary fruit, there is often an extraordinary story waiting to be discovered. If you enjoyed uncovering the real history behind passion fruit, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. Every week, we explore the forgotten origins of the foods, drinks, and ingredients that shaped human civilization. So, until our next journey into history, thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next documentary.